Traveling with photo gear and all of these kinds of batteries, how are you going to get them on the plane? I'll talk about it on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Of course, here I am, David Bergman, answering your photography questions. Don't forget to go to AskDavidBergman.com. There's a form there you can submit, ask your own questions, and I will answer the best ones right here on a future show. Today I've got a question from Samuel I, and he asked, can I carry my XPLOR 600 Pro on an airplane in my carry-on bag? What's the best way to travel with it? All right, traveling with camera gear. Now, here's the thing. I have to make the necessary disclaimer that what I'm going to talk about today, these are the rules as of now. This is early 2020, and they do change, and it's airline to airline, and this is also in the United States only. This is definitely different in other countries, and again, from airline to airline, everything can change. So, as of now, that's my disclaimer. These are the rules. Make sure you check any official websites for updated info. All right, so having said that, what I try to do is whenever possible, I carry on anything that's really fragile. So that means things like camera bodies, lenses, computers, and things like that. They all go in one of my think tank roller bags. Look, I figure that checked bags get tossed around a lot more, and things like carefully calibrated optics and spinning hard drives really might not fare too well underneath the plane. I also want to make sure that I carry on the bare minimums to do the job in case my checked bag gets lost in transit. If you're only bringing on one studio light like the flashpoint you mentioned, if it'll fit in your bag with the rest of your gear, then I would definitely carry it on. I leave checked baggage for things that are less valuable, like bulky items like light stands and tripods, and even battery chargers, as long as they don't have a battery in them, like those power banks for your phone. But just simple chargers with no batteries, you can absolutely check those underneath the plane, and I do. I also check things like clothes and toiletries. The thought process is that if the checked bag is lost or stolen, I'm not gonna get hurt too much, right? I can go without a change of clothes for a day, and I can always buy a new toothbrush if I have to. But I need my photo gear to do the job at hand. Now let's talk about batteries, since the FAA and TSA have some special rules for those. They implemented a lot of new rules after there were those incidents a few years ago with damaged cell phone batteries catching fire during flight. The FAA prefers, whenever possible, that you carry on all batteries. If something goes wrong, the flight crew will have much easier access to the problem if it's inside the cabin and not underneath in your checked bag. However, anything that's installed inside the equipment can go in your checked or carry-on bag, no problem. So that means the batteries for your cameras and speed lights and even that big studio light are okay as long as it's already installed in the device. I've flown with 3 or 4 big studio lights, and they're just too big and heavy to carry on the plane. So I use a solid padded case like the Think Tank Photo Manager series and just check it to my destination. I'm going to put a link down below to all this stuff if you want to check out those cases. Now, as for spare batteries that aren't pre-installed, that aren't already installed in the gear, that's where it gets a bit tricky. Regular dry cell batteries like AA's and 9 volts are fine in your carry-on or your checked bag. Those aren't what they're worried about. Ideally, you would keep them in their original packaging. If you just throw them together in a bag, there's a much higher risk of them touching each other and shorting out. But the type of batteries that the FAA is really worried about the most are batteries like lithium ion or lithium polymer. The lithium ion ones are often used in our cameras and lights, while the lighter weight LiPo batteries might be used in things like drones. Now again, batteries that are already installed are fine in your check bag or carry-on, even inside a drone. But spare lithium batteries, you cannot check those at all. So if you want to bring an extra battery for that big studio light, you're going to have to carry it on. It's still best if it's in the original packaging or separated in a case with the contacts covered using the original protective plastic. You can also put electrical tape over the terminals or put them in individual Ziploc bags. You want to make sure that the contacts from separate batteries can't touch each other, which could, of course, cause a spark or fire. Now look, you can carry on as many of those batteries as you want, as long as they're less than 100 watt hours. That's the magical number, 100 watt hours. The physical size doesn't matter. It's just the watt hours, and the number is usually printed right on the outside of most modern lithium batteries. If it doesn't say, you could do some math and multiply the volts by the amp hours, which is AH. If it says MAH, that's milliamp hours, you just divide that by 1,000 first. Sorry, I didn't tell you there was going to be math involved. But At the airline's discretion, anything over 100 watt hours, between 100 and 160 watt hours, can be brought on board, but it's at the airline's discretion, and some of them require a separate waiver in advance, so check with your airline. There's also a hard limit of 2 per person if it's between 100 and 160, even if the airlines give you permission. Now, anything over 160 watt hours cannot be brought on board at all under any circumstance, so you just can't fly with them, leave them at home. The odds are, if you have something that powerful, you probably know it. Most consumer electronics are going to fall well under that limit, but double check to be sure. That XPLOR 600 Pro you asked about uses a battery that's just under 75 watt hours, so you can bring as many of those on as you want, up to the carry-on limit allowed by the airline, of course. Some battery companies even have documents you can print out and show to TSA or the airlines if they question whether it's okay to bring that gear on the plane. As long as they're less than 100 watt hours, you're going to be just fine. Also, don't forget, if you have to gate check your bag, you're going to need to pull out any spare batteries and take them on board with you. Now look, the rules keep changing, and there are some other restrictions for other kinds of batteries, like recalled batteries, if you're bringing batteries for sale and they're not just for personal use, and on and on and on. So it's important to check before you fly. If you're doing a big commercial shoot and need a lot of gear, another option is to rent what you need on the other side. I've done that a bunch of times. It's so much easier just to travel with cameras and lenses without worrying about all the lighting and hardware. Most major cities have professional rental houses for big lighting, like Adorama Rentals if you're coming here to New York City. Now look, at the end of the day, the airlines can deny you boarding for almost any reason, and TSA, let's be fair, they're just trying to keep us safe. If you go out of your way to make it clear that you understand the rules and are abiding by them, then you probably won't have any issues. Thanks, Samuel, for asking that question. It was a lot of information, but I hope that helps. Again, if you have your own photo questions, go to AskDavidBergman.com, submit the form there, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, I run a live concert photography workshop called Shoot From The Pit. Go to shootfromthepit.com. Maybe you can join me at a show coming up soon. And finally, you're hopefully already a subscriber right here to Adorama TV. You know there's so much great free photo content here from a lot of great photo hosts. So thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you back here next week on Ask David Bergman.